Across Virginia, brave men and women answer the call to protect our freedom. These are their stories of courage, duty, and service. WFXR presents Veterans Voices.
Thank you for joining us here in Bedford at the National D-Day Memorial for this WFXR special, Veterans Voices. I'm Kathlynn Stone.
And I'm Jermaine Ferrell, and over the next half hour, we're going to share these awesome stories from our local veterans, giving them a voice as they make the sacrifices to serve and defend our country.
Now, we could not start this special without recognizing our own veteran. Jermaine, you are an Army veteran. Talk to us about your time in the service and really some of the fond memories you have.
Kathlynn, I tell you, the biggest thing about serving in the military, you build up that camaraderie, the friendship, the brotherhood and sisterhood you have with fellow veterans. So it's really a neat time, and it's some of the greatest times in my life when I served in the Army and serving with fellow military members.
And you got to this year, I understand, just a couple of weeks ago, to go to Washington, D.C. with a group of veterans for Honor Flight.
I tell you, the Central and Southwest Virginia Honor Flight, such a neat thing. These veterans are sharing their stories, talking about times, visiting national museums and memorials. Such a special and honorable time, and so much in emotion when you go there.
Yeah, really, it's a trip that many of them will never forget.
Is this the first time you participate in Honor Flight?
Yes.
What's your thoughts about this opportunity for you?
Oh, it's great. I'm just proud to be able to do this.
What's something that you're looking forward to?
Seeing all the monuments in D.C. and being part of the group. It's an honor.
Well, the first time I came in when the president came here several years ago. I'm originally from Bedford.
So when you see this memorial, what comes to mind?
Mine is what our soldiers went through. It really stands out, especially this here.
Every trip is meaningful. There's not one moment that stands out. It's a collection of moments that stands out, if that makes sense.
It was, I don't know, it kind of got me right here. I didn't even know there was a memorial here like that, and just to see it and see the background picture behind the soldier, all the different trades and work, and the building of bridges and landing sites and aircraft. It's just overwhelming.
Really cool that they actually recognized me for something that I did. I didn't really expect it, and it touched me a little bit, and I just appreciate being recognized because, you know, nowadays women, you know, don't get as recognized unless you're wearing a hat or something that shows that you're a veteran. So that's why I have little pins that I've been handing out to veterans that are females that say female veterans on it, so that you can wear it, you know, on your pocketbook or something to show that, yeah, I too have served.
The Honor Flight, it feels amazing to be able to hear all the stories of all the older generations of veterans versus even the younger generations that are the guardians.
But it just means so much to me. My grandfather was a World War II veteran. I never got to know him, and so it's kind of my way of honoring those people and their stories and their legacy and keeping that remembrance alive.
Well, I just think back to high school, and a lot of us were getting ready to graduate, and people not knowing what they were going to do, and some were going to college, and others got drafted into the military, and some of them went to Vietnam and never returned home. So it's just kind of a sad thing.
It is an experience you can't describe with words. You describe with feelings and with impressions, and to see these veterans teach us why it's so wonderful to live in this country and to be free, and then to see the respect that they garner when they go walking into their memorials and the young children that come up and shake their hands.
Just have a great time.
And Kathlynn, this is such a special moment for these military veterans to share this moment. It's so neat. And of course, they have these honor flights on April in October each year.
Yeah, and it's not just a local organization. This is a nationwide network of men and women who make sure that these veterans get to see their respective memorials. A very fantastic organization.
It's such a great time to be a part of that. Now, African American Army veterans in Roanoke, they're sharing their story on racial barriers that they faced in the 1980s.
WFXR's Amanda Lee actually spoke with two veterans who hope that sharing their stories will help shed light on the current issues.
I was the only black guy where I was. It wasn't like I had other people I could like, yeah, you know, let's stick together and work this out. And just no, I pulled a lot of weight alone.
Wasn't a lot of advancement as far as at the time for African Americans.
Bart Edwards and Perry Taylor are U.S. Army veterans who served in the 1980s and 90s. Both soldiers say the impact of racial disparities within the military aren't talked about enough, but have had a significant impact.
I've even had friends of mine who were stationed in Anchorage, Alaska, where they were, in the 90s, they were holding white supremacist rallies on post.
Taylor served during the Cold War era. He recalls being a sergeant trying to speak up for another black soldier being put out for a DUI, while other white soldiers with multiple weren't punished at all.
You got a guy here that's constantly been in trouble and he got a DUI, and you're letting him stay. This guy got in trouble one time, and you're putting him out. It's just not fair. They pretty much locked my heels and told me to keep my mouth shut and mind my business.
Taylor says the hurt stayed with him for years.
You can't quit. You can't move. You can put in for a request to go somewhere overseas or something, but really, you're stuck. And you're going to have to learn to play the game.
A game, he says, put a large impact on African-American soldiers, even when their military career was over. Edwards says he was lucky to have a friend in service who shared a similar experience, one they went through together. But when leaving the military, they drifted apart.
He died alone. He had issues in life going on that he didn't really talk about. Kind of wish I was there a little bit more for him.
He says Gravely felt isolated while in the military and struggled to cope with health issues afterwards.
The hardest part about him passing is the fact that when they buried him, you know, they had to do it on a Monday after the funeral, and nobody was up there at the cemetery to be there for him.
He says Gravely felt secluded during his military career and became more isolated afterwards, battling health issues alone. Edwards says he wishes more black veterans would reach out for help.
I didn't really realize that he was going through some of the things that he was going through. And he had some struggles going on, and that's one of the things about keeping in contact with all veterans. Especially if they are friends of yours.
Both Perry and Taylor now serving in organizations like AMVET, speaking up for other veterans across the Commonwealth, promoting inclusion and mental wellness.
There's a time now for let's stop the separation and let's come together for one common cause, and that's to help veterans across the country.
I could see the obstacles I've come over, the people that tried to stand in my way, the people that tried to stand against me, and realize I still stand.
That was Amanda Lee reporting. Both veterans have worked with AMVETS, the American Legions, and the National Association for Black Veterans.
We've already received dozens of messages. This changed my life, or this even saved my life, from veterans who are going through similar struggles.
Coming up, a unique form of therapy, how one online community is sharing veteran stories.
It was good to meet somebody here that has the same thought process, been through some of the same similar things. We can call upon each other at any point in time.
Plus, using horses to heal, what New Freedom Farm is doing to help veterans overcome their post-traumatic stress. This is Veterans Voices.
Now, back to Veterans Voices on WFXR.
And welcome back, everyone, to Veterans Voices. You know, one group with ties to the Roanoke area is doing what they can to help a voice of our nation's veterans. Now, as Evan Johnson explains, the outlet is turning a unique form of therapy while also giving civilians a little insight into what really goes on overseas.
My name is Byron Rogers. I was with the United States Marine Corps.
Jennifer Fortenberry, served in the U.S. Army.
R.J. Jackson, United States Marine Corps.
My name is
These are just some of the brave men and women who fought for our country.
all from different walks of life.
I'm from Fullerton, California.
I was born and raised in Mississippi.
I was born in Livingston, New Jersey.
Born and raised here in Roanoke.
Each sharing their story of military service.
We allow them to share whatever their story is from start to finish.
Adam Linkenauger is a co-founder of Urban Valor, an online support community that focuses on celebrating the stories of vets and their loved ones. Its YouTube channel alone has been around for a little over a year and already has more than 11,000 subscribers who regularly watch as former military members sit in a chair in front of a plain background and start talking.
It's an incredible feeling just for them to sit down in that chair and then share.
It was probably close to a 48-hour ongoing, fight and push with the Taliban in the area.
My name's Scott Dotson. I served for 9 years. I ETS'd at Sergeant E5.
Scott Dotson of Roanoke is one of the dozens to share their story, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
It was it's a different world.
Dotson was a cook in the United States Army. In April of 2010, he deployed to Afghanistan to an area known as the Devil's Playground, a place where troops were attacked several times a week.
We took on, it was probably close to a 48-hour ongoing, fight and push with the Taliban in the area.
That was probably the worst that I remember, everyone having to deal with over there.
Dotson told of tragic loss. Still, he says telling his story through Urban Valor has been a huge help for him.
I 100% feel like it was worth it.
Scott, his story was absolutely incredible. It's opened my eyes up dramatically to what these people have experienced, what they've overcome, and what they continue to endure and overcome every day.
Dotson describes his Urban Valor experience as a unique form of therapy, something that can sometimes be intimidating for these warriors. But it seems after sharing their stories, a big weight is lifted, and they push for others in their boots to give it a try.
Nearly every interviewee we've had, every veteran that's sat in the chair, has encouraged those watching, hey, reach out, get help, it's okay.
In Roanoke, Evan Johnson, WFXR News.
Now, Urban Valor is in the process of creating a website to allow veterans and their families additional options to share their stories. Those options include uploading videos of their own and audio options for those who may be camera shy.
Now, it's widely publicized that veterans face challenges with PTSD, depression, and suicide. While a report found that suicide among veterans fell in 2020, mental health services and suicide prevention remains a priority for Veterans Affairs. According to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, the VA projects a 32% increase in outpatient mental health care over 10 years. The number of veterans receiving mental health care from the VA has already gone up 90% from 2006 to 2019.
Outpatient has expanded enormously over the years here. Inpatient has continued to decrease. So when I got here, we had 400 psych beds. Now we have 36 acute psych beds, and even less than that because we don't have enough staff. So the numbers of outpatients have grown dramatically. We thought they were going to go down a little bit during COVID. So what happened was it went down about 15% the first year of COVID. It caught up to the pre-COVID the next year, and now we're 5% above what we had pre-COVID in total numbers of mental health patients treated.
As Dr. Delmar Short from the Salem VA mentioned, there's a staffing shortage, especially with nurses. He says it's forced the VA to cut beds and not to take in veterans transferring from other VA medical centers. Dr. Short says there's also a need for psychiatrists, psychologists, and social workers. Coming up, from the military to the farm, how one veteran is continuing his service to our country after numerous combat tours.
Now, back to Veterans Voices on WFXR.
I think it's safe to say that military veterans know a thing or two about national security. That's why many of them have actually been tasked with sustaining our food supply.
And Kathlynn, George Noliff takes us onto the farm, and guess what he does? He's looking at how some veterans continue their service even after their enlistments are over.
The quiet of a Grayson County pasture, a far cry from some of the places retired Army Colonel John Fant has seen.
4 combat tours, 2 in Afghanistan, 2 in Iraq.
After decades of service in the military, Fant returned to his roots where he grew up, farming sheep and cattle in Grayson County.
700 head of sheep right now. So we're in the process of moving the sheep to market.
Farming is as much a national service as it is serving the military, and so you got 1% of the nation serving the nation in the armed forces, and you have about 1 to 2% of the nation that feeds 100% of the nation.
Fant is the past president of the Virginia Farmer Veteran Coalition. It's a group set up to advise military vets who want to farm make that transition.
And that's where I think the biggest benefit is just a vet talking to another vet. There's a level of comfort there and understanding because of shared common experience, and now that they're trying to get into another experience that we can eventually share as well.
You all right? There you go. Get on up there.
Fant says life in the military makes farming unnatural for veterans.
They're, both it's outdoor event, disciplined, mission-focused, physically demanding, problem-solving, future planning. I mean, all those things that the military developed in so many of us as a result of our service just really, really help make a life in agriculture that much easier. When you talk about national service and giving back to our country, farming is one of those things that I think makes a lot of sense for veterans to do.
For Veterans Voices in Elk Creek, George Noliff, WFXR News on the farm.
So I was telling you we got 2 different.
Coming up, using horses to heal. The work New Freedom Farm is doing to help veterans suffering from PTSD.
Now, back to Veterans Voices on WFXR.
In the United States, 22 veterans die by suicide every single day. And that's why One Virginia Farm is working to offer them a unique form of therapy.
That's right. WFXR's Chief Meteorologist John Carroll introduces us to all the wonderful work that's being done for our military veterans at the New Freedom Farm in Buchanan.
Another quiet morning at New Freedom Farm as the sun-bathed pastures contain the gentle giants that offer comfort and healing to area veterans and first responders. So how do these majestic creatures conjure up the healing powers to calm and collect those seeking assistance? The founder of New Freedom Farm, Lois Dawn Fritz, has the answer.
So I always truly believe that a horse can always feel how we feel on the inside. So I always say the outside of a horse can heal the inside of a human.
There's no doubt that these horses are special. But what is not widely known is that Lois has rescued the horses as well as the heroes.
The horses that have come to New Freedom Farm are wild Mustangs, so they've been rounded up, corralled, and brought to a strange place, just like our heroes.
So basically, the horses and the heroes must go through a healing process together. And during that process, a bond is developed.
Once a bond is connected between the hero and the horse, there's nothing more powerful and more therapeutic than to see them out there without a halter, without a lead line, no forms of any communication except them bonded together.
The hero and the horse become one.
The wild Mustang suffers from post-traumatic stress just like our heroes do. Whether it's a first responder or a veteran, there's post-traumatic stress. And once we learn to lower our heart rates and our body movements, the horse mimics that and vice versa.
That process is extremely therapeutic, especially for the hero, who can recall the calm and gentleness that was shared between themselves and the horse and apply it to everyday life. Simply put, healed through the horses. But there's another part to the story, another part to New Freedom Farm, and that is the bond that develops between the heroes.
The bond that we created during that time is after hours, when the farm's closed and we need someone to talk to, we just talk to each other, and that turned into doing things together, taking our kids out to do things together, going on trips with his family together. I have a brother that lives in California, that plays Xbox with his son online. So it's just really integrated into a family. It is good to meet somebody here that has the same thought process, been through some of the same similar things, and can share like life, and we can call upon each other at any point in time.
In the military, you have a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood, but like with him, it feels more like an actual brother.
There is a special kinship that's developed between these heroes, something that not many of us will understand.
From people he deployed with, and extreme things happen to, I've met, he's introduced me to those people, and vice versa. On my side, people I deployed with and extreme things happened, he's met, and we've all hung out together as a group, which is pretty awesome.
So what started out as two strangers seeking shelter from the storm of PTSD through horse healing has developed into a strong bond of friendship and brotherhood that may never be broken. On the battlefield, the Band of Brothers bond is real. At New Freedom Farm, the Band of Brotherhood is also real.
I try to come out here at least twice a week.
And now, as Chief Meteorologist John Carroll reporting, New Freedom Farm is located in Buchanan and is open Tuesday through Saturday by appointment only. If you or another veteran you know need immediate help, call the Veterans Crisis Line. That phone number is right there on your screen. We also have more resources available on our website. That's Wfxrtv.com. Now, sadly, that's all the time we have for this Veterans Voices special. We do want to thank all of our nation's heroes, the men and women who have fought and sacrificed for our freedoms.
Absolutely, Kathlynn. Now, if you missed any of our Veterans Voices coverage, we have it for you on our website. That's Wfxrtv.com.
We want to thank you so much for joining us here in Bedford at the National D-Day Memorial for this Veterans Voices special.